Hey guys, it's me, MidwayJack24 here. Today I'm going to be reacting to the Star Spangled Banner as you never heard it. And before we begin, all copyright belongs to Mona Rose. And yes, I will place an original link to the video in the description. And yeah, so basically, in case y'all aren't from the US, I'm going to have to basically explain something. As in the US, during the War of 1812, um, basically, yeah, that's how, during the War of 1812, an attack by the British on a certain fort, why can't I remember the name? No, what's the name of it? Anyways, they're going to tell you the name later, as I clearly can't. As I clearly can't remember it at the moment, which is odd since I was watching a few reaction videos to this before. But practically, as for those people who think that the American national anthem is a war cry, for all those, I can tell you to go shove it. Since, let's face it, the U.S.'s national anthem's not a war cry. Well, it's more like a sigh of relief during a war. During a war, giving more hope. Anyways, without further ado of anything else, let's go. Well, you guys will see since I've already seen this video like 5 times, and though I can't remember the name of the fort. Anyways, you're about to learn why Americans have been always the odd ones out of the world. Besides the Canadians, Australians, and I guess New Zealanders, that's about it. Just double checking everything.
There was a lawyer once. His name was Francis Scott Key. He penned a song that I'm sure you're aware of. You've seen it. It's in most hymnals throughout our churches. It's called the National Anthem. It is our song as an American. We go
Yep.
however to a ball game. We stand in our church services and we sing the words of that song, and they float over our minds and our lips, and we don't even realize what we're singing. Most of us have memorized it as a child, but we've never really thought about what it means. Let me tell you.
Actually, as I can confirm, is since I'm bit of an atheist and Jewish and extremely non-religious, that I have no idea if singing the national anthem is indeed a part of the churches in America, but I can't confirm nor deny if that actually does happen across the country. But what I can confirm is that the national anthem is mostly remembered in schools. But since due to a weird memory issue that I always have, where I can never remember lyrics to any songs, yeah, so I kind of had to ad-lib it a few times during school, and yeah, that's it.
Francis Scott Key was a lawyer in Baltimore. The colonies were engaged in vicious conflict with the mother country, Britain. Because of this conflict and the protractedness of it, they had accumulated prisoners on both sides. The American colonies had prisoners and the British had prisoners. And the American government initiated a move. They went to the British and they said, let us negotiate for the release of these prisoners. They said, we want to...
Actually, wait, who's the president during the War of 1812? Wait, was it James Madison that was the president during the War of 1812? If not, correct me in the comments down below.
A man out to discuss this with you. They were holding the American prisoners in boats about 1,000 yards offshore. And they said, we want to send a man by the name of Francis Scott Key. He will come out and negotiate to see if we can make a mutual exchange. On the appointed day, in a rowboat, he went out to this boat and he negotiated with the British officials, and they reached a conclusion that men could be exchanged on a one-for-one basis. Francis Scott Key, jubilant with the fact that he'd been successful, went down below in the boats, and what he found was a cargo hold full of humanity, men. And he said, "Men, I've got news for you tonight. You're free."
Oh, and just to mention that, yeah, prison ships, they're not going to be in the best cleaning conditions, especially during the early 1800s. So, yeah, I'm sorry to you all men who had to have been there during that time and had to stay there in that disgusting amount of ships, and yeah.
He said, "Tonight I have negotiated successfully your return to the colonies." He said, "You'll be taken out of this boat, out of this filth, out of your chains." As he went back up on board to arrange for their passage to the shore, the admiral came and he said, "We have a slight problem."
This problem is other known as a bit of what you call, what the British call a pro-gamer move, in which the Americans can successfully retaliate against.
"We will still honor our commitment to release these men, but it'll be merely academic after tonight. It won't matter." And Francis Scott Key said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, Mr. Key," he said, "tonight we have laid an ultimatum upon the colonies. Your people will either capitulate and lay down the colors of that flag that you think so much of, or you..."
I'm about to stop you right there, British person talking to Francis Scott Key. The colors of the flag are the same colors of the Union Jack. So just remember that even though that America had broken away from Great Britain, or the UK, or whatever it was called during that time, essentially, yeah, we had the same colors as the old flag. So yeah, so the colors of the flag still means that yeah, your flag has the same colors as well. If I'm not mistaken, the exact same shades of blue, white, and red. However, what I should also confirm is that well, somewhat. I'm just doing this because I just wanted to give a little rant to the British guy saying that, since, let's face it, I just wanted to at least have a bit of a rant out. Anyways, I do agree that this had nothing to do with the main reaction. It's just something that I wanted to do for a very long time.
That fort right over there, Fort Henry?
Oh, that's the name, Fort Henry. I always thought it was Fort McHenry, which I thought that would have been wrong.
He said, "We're going to remove it from the face of the earth." He said, "How are you going to do that?" He said, "If you will, scan the horizon of the sea." And as he looked, he could see hundreds of little dots. And he said, "That's the entire British war fleet." He said, "All of the gunpowder, all of the armament is being called upon to demolish that fort. It will be here within striking distance in a matter of about 2.5 hours." He said, "The war is over. These men would be free anyway."
A little bit of background knowledge. The War of 1812, America and Great Britain were kind of in a bit of a stalemate with each other, and it ended in a negotiation in France, I believe, or somewhere, saying that, no, I believe it was the Netherlands, actually. It was either the Netherlands or the French. You can comment down below which one it is, which is, if you know, because I don't know at the current moment, but throughout it, that America was kind of getting beaten up by the British, but the British were also getting beaten up somewhat by the Americans. So during this time of the war, this was not during the Americans' favor, but the results of this battle actually is in the Americans' favor.
He said, "You can't shell that fort." He said, that's a large fort. He said, it's full of women and children. He says, it's predominantly not a military fort. He said, don't worry about it.
Well, I mean, women and children in that fort, and the British are going to bomb it with cannons. I really wonder who's the bad guy here. In case you didn't know my sarcasm, it means the British are the bad guys. Anyways, just had to do that. Considering since I'll be happy to take any jab at the British if I have to, even though I get a bad reputation that I'm usually anti-British due to my lack of British history. Once again, sorry about that, guys. But hey, I managed to at least do my American blood, and that is to somehow insult the British and make it back alive.
They said, we've left them a way out. And he said, what's that? He said, do you see that flag way up on the rampart? He said, we have told them that if they will lower that flag, the shelling will stop immediately. And we'll know that they've surrendered, and you'll now be under British rule.
Now, about to give you a bit of a background. Back then, when America was still a new country, the belief that they were this was a tiny bit after the Louisiana Purchase. Our main belief was that even though that the British tend to, hold on a sec, just going to do something as I see a large spider. Let me just see. Nope, really, nope. Did I kill it? Yeah, I think I did. Sorry guys, just saw a large spider on my desk. Had to just go and kill it. Because let's be honest, I do not like spiders. And when they're about as large as my own palm, I start to freak out. I don't have a lot of arachnophobia, it's just that I don't want to take the chance. Anyways, back to the video. Oh wait, hold on, now I remember what I was talking about. So, when America was still a new country, somewhat after the Louisiana Purchase, this is when the War of 1812 happened, and while America was still being a new country at this time, the people who had been living in America, the American citizens, and the American military, since both are made of both at this point, meaning that both the American citizens are retired, are veterans from the American Revolutionary War, and a lot of the new army members of the American military are indeed citizens. And the largest belief between the American citizens and the U.S. Army was that the U.S. shall not go back under to anyone's rule except for their own. Meaning that any other country that tries to take over America, America's not going to give up without a fight. But we would fight literally until we can't no more, which could be a number of different things anyways.
Francis Scott Key went down below and told the men what was about to happen. And they said, how many ships? He said, hundreds. The ships got closer. Francis Scott Key went back up on top and he said, men, I'll shout down to you what's going on as we watch. As twilight began to fall, and as the haze hung over the ocean as it does at sunset, suddenly the British war fleet unleashed. He says the sound was deafening. There were so many guns that there were no reliefs. He said it was absolutely impossible to talk or hear. He said suddenly the sky, although dark, was suddenly lit.
And this is a few lyrics. This on a great portion of the details that Francis Scott Key is describing to the men are eventually what he's going to be writing for the American National Anthem. And this part, and all throughout the night, is going to show you why that they say that our flag was still there in the American national anthem, which is actually going to play at the end of the video.
And he says from down below, all he could hear the men, the prisoners, saying was, "Tell us where the flag is. What have they done with the flag? Is the flag still flying over the rampart? Tell us." 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours into the shelling, every time the bomb would explode and it would be close to the flag, they could see the flag in the illuminated red glare of that bomb, and Francis Scott Key would report down to the men below, "It's still up. It's not down."
And just remember on how important this is meaning to the American prisoners. Is, let's face it, they already been captured by the British, and all they want to do is return back to their homes in America, not under British rule. So when they hear that the flag's still up, it's still like a morale booster for them.
The admiral came and he said, "Your people are insane." He said, "What's the matter with them?" He said, "Don't they understand this is an impossible situation?"
British dude, as I'm about going to explain it to the second time towards you. Not necessary for anyone else, just because I needed to let this built up rant about to spit out at you. We fought the British once and won. And just to remember, we were inexperienced farmers shooting at you with guns. And we had your army flee. Your navy got destroyed by France. Thankfully that the French helped us. Otherwise that might have ended up. And also, we managed to fight and secure our own independence. And we had a tendency to keep it that way.
Francis Scott Key said he remembered what George Washington had said. He said the thing that sets the American Christian apart from all other people in the world is he will die on his feet before he'll live on his knees.
Which means that it would still give that they would that it means that Americans would fight for what they believe in, meaning that they would still have hope even in dire situations before that they go on their knees, meaning that they would surrender to the British, or in case surrender in general.
The admiral said, "We have now instructed all of the guns to focus on the rampart to take that flag down." He said, "We don't understand something. Our reconnaissance tells us that that flag has been hit directly again and again and again, and yet it's still flying. We don't understand that."
Well, maybe you don't understand the laws of physics. Well, not exactly the laws of physics, as I don't think you guys would have understood those at the time. But still, maybe you didn't take in fact another element holding up the flags. Heck, who else holds up flags? Other besides flagpoles. Who holds up flags? It's the people.
But he said, "Now we're about to bring every gun for the next 3 hours to bear on that point." Francis Scott Key said the barrage was unmerciful. All that he could hear was the men down below praying. The prayer, "God, keep that flag flying where we last saw it." Sunrise came. He said there was a heavy mist hanging over the land, but the rampart was tall enough. There stood the flag, completely nondescript, in shreds.
A powerful moment. Even though that the flag was still up, and of such an odd tilt. But hey, the Americans made it through.
The flagpole itself was at a crazy angle. the flag was still at the top. Francis Scott Key went aboard and immediately went into Fort Henry to see what had happened. And what he'd found had happened was that that flagpole and that flag had suffered repetitious direct hits. And when it had fallen,
but what was keeping it up was something that is quite powerful.
but men, fathers, who knew what it meant for that flag.
Oh, and back then it was only men in the American military, which was only recently, by the late 1940s, recently added women to it, I believe. I could be mistaken about that, but I have a feeling that that's mainly right.
To be on the ground. Although knowing that all of the British guns were trained on it, walked over and held it up humanly until they died. Their bodies were removed.
If you guys don't know, I'm doing a salute while this is playing.
And others took their place. Francis Scott Key said what held that flagpole in place at that unusual angle were patriots' bodies. He penned the song, "Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming. O'er the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that the flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet fly and wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? The debt was demanded. The price, it was paid.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets break clear, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave? Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner
hopefully this video had changed some of y'all's opinions about the American national anthem. In case you guys had opinions that were war cry, or that it was about, or if it was something about. At this point, I forgot. But anyways, that if you learned the new different stuff from this video, please tell me what you learned in the comments down below. And once again, all the copyright does belong to Mona Rose, and I'll see y'all next week. No, not next week. On Wednesday. On Wednesday. Goodbye.